All right, hi everyone. So welcome to the last tutorial of ECON1210, and we'll be talking about price discrimination today. So as usual, we'll start with the review part, and I will go through the meaning and some types of price discrimination, as well as the anti-competitive behaviors of tying and bundling. And finally, we'll also review the concept of arbitrage. So let's start with the definition of price discrimination first. So price discrimination is a kind of price behavior by which different prices are charged on different customers for the same goods for reasons unrelated to differences in cost. So we have three types of price discrimination discussed in our course. So the first one is perfect price discrimination, or we also say that first-degree price discrimination. So in this case, the monopolist is charging each buyer according to their willingness to pay for the good. Let's say the consumer here, it will be facing a higher price, while the consumer here will be facing a lower price. So different buyers is paying a different price for the same good. So recalling the definition of consumer surplus here, which is total benefit minus total expenditure. As you can see, so actually the total expenditure on the good, or what the buyers are paying, will equal to what they value for the good, total benefit towards the good. So this is why the total expenditure equals to total benefit under perfect price discrimination. So they pay what they value on the good. So this is why the consumer surplus will be zero under perfect price discrimination, completely extracted by the seller. So this is the first remark. And the second remark, there's no efficiency loss due to perfect price discrimination. So why is that the case? The marginal revenue under perfect price discrimination is simply the marginal benefit of the consumers, because the monopolist is charging each buyer according to the willingness to pay. So the additional revenue that can be gained from selling one additional unit is simply according to the marginal benefit curve. Okay. So when we apply the profit maximization condition MR equals to MC, it is equivalent as the efficient condition MB equals to MC. So this is for perfect price discrimination. And the next one is hurdles, or we also say that second-degree price discrimination. So the firm is charging different prices for different blocks of buyers of a good. So referring to the diagram below here, the whole market is divided into submarkets. Let's say the list price submarket and the discount price submarket. So in some sense, the outcome under hurdles is in between simple monopoly pricing that we have discussed in the last chapter and perfect price discrimination in the previous slide. So this is why we have the following two remarks. Part of the consumer surplus might be extracted by the seller, part of it, but not all of it. And the second remark, the efficiency would be in between simple monopoly pricing and perfect price discrimination. Okay, so this shows the in-betweenness of hurdles. Right, so the third type would be market segmentation, or we say that third-degree price discrimination. So the firm is dividing market segments according to different characteristics of the consumers. So a simple example would be like transportation. Okay? So children will be paying a lower price than adults, although the cost of serving these consumers will be the same. Right? So referring to the two diagrams below here, if the monopolist is facing a less elastic demand, okay, let's say in the Europe market, then the markup will be greater. Whereas in the Africa market, where the demand is more elastic, then the markup will be smaller. Okay. So to conclude, a more elastic demand, smaller markup. Less elastic demand, a larger markup. Right, so that's all about the types of price discrimination. And we have some anti-competitive behaviors here, tying and bundling. So for tying, it is an agreement in which a good is tied to another good. And usually base good will be charged below cost, while variable goods will be charged above cost. And we have the second type called bundling, which is an agreement that suppliers sell two or more products in a single package. So let me take this opportunity to make clear about the differences between tying and bundling. So for tying, the example I used here will be printer and ink, where printer is a base good and ink is the variable good. In theory, you need not buy printer and ink together, right? But in practice, you need to use them together to satisfy your wants for printing, right? So this will be a feature of tying. The two goods will be used together as complements to each other. You need not buy them together. Whereas for bundling, the example I use here will be Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and etc. In fact, you need not use Excel, Word, PowerPoint together, right? So you may use Excel for Econ1210, and some others may use Microsoft Word for writing essays in Common Core courses, something like that. So they are kind of different products put into a single package to sell it to you. So this will be bundle. Okay, so hope you can differentiate the feature between tying and bundling. And finally, about arbitrage. So arbitrage would be about the methodology of buy low, sell high. So using this a simple diagram here, an arbitrager is trying to buy the good in the lower price market, say market A, and sell the same good at a higher price market, say market B. Then in this case, the arbitrager is able to reap a profit, which is the price differences across these two markets. An arbitrage opportunity exists only when the benefit from engaging in the arbitrage, which is simply the price differences, is greater than its cost. So some cost of arbitrage will be like the transportation from moving this good from one area to another. All right, so anyway, you will learn more about the idea of arbitrage in future finance courses, starting from derivatives. All right, so that's all for the recall part, and we'll move on to the discussion question. Please take a look first. Okay, so let's go through the statements one by one. The first one, price discrimination is about charging different buyers different prices for different goods or services. So this would be false, because price discrimination is talking about charging different buyers different prices for the same goods or services. So if you are buying an apple and I'm buying a watermelon, so it's likely that the price is different, and this is not called price discrimination, right? Statement 2, arbitrage makes it difficult for a firm to set different prices in different markets. So this would be true. Arbitrage opportunity exists only when the benefit side is greater than the cost side. If we have different prices across different markets, then it will be more likely for the price differences to outweigh its cost of doing so. So this means that it will be more likely for arbitrage opportunity to exist when there are different prices for the same good. All right, so this is for question 1, and we'll move on to the next one. Please take a look. In this question, we need to compare the market outcome under simple monopoly pricing and perfect price discrimination. Let's analyze the market under simple monopoly pricing first. So in this case, we'll be demonstrating the 4 universal steps that I've introduced in the previous tutorial, right? Just follow them and you'll be able to find the outcome. So step 1 is to find the demand curve. However, it is already directly given here, then we can directly use it. And to move on to step 2, to derive marginal revenue curve by multiplying the coefficients in front of Q by 2. So this is why we have the marginal revenue curve, okay? Multiply the coefficient in front of Q by 2. Step 3 is to apply the product maximization condition MR equals to MC to find the product maximizing quantity. So putting everything in GeoGebra, we can find out that marginal revenue and marginal cost intersect at this point. Point A and the corresponding quantity would be the product maximizing output, 30 units. And finally, step 4, to charge a monopoly price according to the demand curve at this product maximizing output. So it will be point B here, according to the demand curve at this quantity. And we have the product maximizing price, $700. So point B will be giving us the result. How about under perfect price discrimination? How does the market look like? Remember, under perfect price discrimination, the market is efficient, right? Because the marginal revenue is simply the marginal benefit of the consumers under perfect price discrimination. So the monopolist is charging each buyer according to their willingness to pay. So this is why we are going to find the intersection point between demand and marginal cost, which is point F in the graph here. So we have the efficient quantity, 45 units. So now we can compare the profit in question 2 first. Okay, so the starting point is profit equals to producer surplus minus fixed cost. So why do I want to consider producer surplus first? Because in the diagram, we can directly observe producer surplus. So this is why I would like to start with producer surplus first. And how can we find the producer surplus under simple monopoly pricing? So hope that's simple for you. It will simply be this blue trapezium, if you still remember what we have learned in last chapter about monopoly. Okay. Using a polygon function, you should be able to find its area, 13,500. Okay, so this is the producer surplus, and you just put minus fixed cost. And this will be the profit under simple monopoly pricing. The fixed cost is not known here, but during our calculation, it will be cancelled out. So just follow me first. And how about the profit under perfect price discrimination? Because under perfect price discrimination, the whole area of consumer surplus will be completely extracted by the seller. So this is why the whole area of total economic surplus will simply be the producer surplus. So we have this big yellow triangle as the producer surplus, 20,250. And then minus FC, the fixed cost, would be the profit under perfect price discrimination. To find out the increase in profit, it will simply be the profit under perfect price discrimination minus the profit under simple monopoly pricing. And as you can see, the fixed costs would cancel out each other, and we can find the increase in profit by 6,750. All right, how about the consumer surplus? How does that change? Under simple monopoly pricing, the consumer surplus will be the purple triangle here, and using a polygon function, you can find its area, 4,500. How about consumer surplus under perfect price discrimination? It is 0 because it is completely extracted by the seller. So this is why the consumer surplus would decrease from 4,500 to 0, or equivalency, a decrease by $4,500. Yes, so that's all for this problem, and we'll move on to the following one. Please have a look. All right, this question will be about bundling, and we are going to determine whether the owner would sell the goods in a combo or sell the goods separately. So let's compare the profit under these cases. Okay, case A, selling a good as a combo or in a bundle. So in this case, the willingness to pay of the bundle for Birdie, it would be 20 plus 42. And for Ronald, the valuation of the bundle is 14 plus 26. Okay, so the number 62 and 40 are also put down in the following slide. The willingness to pay for the combo. Okay, so this means that the combo price should be either at $40 or 62. If the combo price is at $40, then both Birdie and Ronald will purchase the combo and the quantity equals to 2. So how can we calculate the profit under this combo price $40? Again, profit is total revenue minus total cost. So for the revenue part, the price of 40 multiplied by the quantity of 2. And total cost here is decomposed into 3 parts. The first one is the fixed cost, $7 mentioned here. And the next component will be the marginal cost. Okay, for each unit of pizza or soft drink, it will be at the marginal cost of $6. So this is why we have 6 times 2 times 2. Okay, 2 goods in a bundle, and we are selling 2 bundles in total. So 6 times 2 times 2 about the variable cost in supplying these pizza and soft drinks. And last but not least, the third component will be the packaging cost, $0.5 per combo. Since we are selling 2 combos, then the packaging cost is 0.5 times 2. Okay, we have all the components, then we can calculate the profit is $48. So how about when the combo price is at $62? In this case, then only Birdie will purchase the combo. The quantity will become 1. Then we can calculate the profit in a similar manner. Total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue will be the price of 62 multiplied by quantity of 1. And for the total cost part, 3 components again. Fixed cost of 7 and marginal cost part. Okay, now only selling 1 bundle, so it is 6 times 2. And again, we also need to include the packaging cost. And we can find out that the profit is 42.5. So this means that if the Pizza Express shop is going to sell the goods in a combo, then the price should be at $40 to reap a profit of $48. So this is case A. And how about case B? If the Pizza Express shop is going to sell the good separately, then let's say for pizza, the price should be at either 20 or 14. Okay, so let's see. If the price is at $14, then both Birdie and Ronald will purchase the pizza. The quantity will be 2. So here in the following, I'm trying to consider producer surplus instead of profit. So why is that the case? 2 rationales for this. The first one is that when we are maximizing profit, it is equivalent as maximizing producer surplus. The second rationale is that if we take into account the fixed cost in calculating the profit of pizza and also taking into account the fixed cost when calculating the profit maximizing price of soft drinks, then I will double count the fixed cost twice. So this is why I would like to calculate the producer surplus first, and then at the end, subtract the fixed cost once. Okay, so this is the idea behind. And what is the producer surplus when the pizza price is $14? Again, total revenue minus total variable cost. So price times quantity for total revenue. $14 of pizza price multiplied by 2 units. And for the total variable cost, marginal cost of $6 multiplied by 2 units. So we have the producer surplus, $16. At the pizza price $20, then only Birdie will purchase the pizza, which means that the quantity is 1. And we can calculate the corresponding producer surplus is $14. Okay, so this means that if the goods are sold separately, then the pizza price should be at $14. How about for soft drinks? We do something similar, which means that the price of the soft drink should be either at $42 or $26. If the soft drink price is at $26, then both Bertie and Ronald will purchase that, and then we can calculate the produced surplus is 40. Again, total revenue minus total variable cost for produced surplus. Whereas for the price of soft drink at $42, then only Bertie will purchase the soft drinks, and we have the produced surplus, $36. This means that if the goods are sold separately, the price of the soft drink should be at $26. Now, we are ready to calculate the profit from selling the goods separately, which is, let me use another color, 16 plus 40 minus the fixed cost of 7. So this also put down right here, and we can calculate the profit from selling pizza and soft drinks separately, $49. And as you can see, the profit from selling separately is 49, greater than the profit of selling as a combo, $48. So this means that the Pizza Express shop should sell separately to maximize its profit. The corresponding profit is $49. All right, so yeah, the next problem now, please take a look. So let's start with question 64. There is a discount coupons, and we know that consumers with reservation price higher than $325 never care to use the coupon. So this means that this market is under hurdles, okay, divided into two submarkets right here. Okay, visitors A, B, C would fall into the discount price submarket, and visitors D to J will fall into the list price submarket. And we are going to set the list price and the discount price to maximize profit. All right, so how can you do that? This actually to implement the 4 universal steps twice to each of the submarket to solve this problem. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at my Excel screenshot here. Okay, so for the list price submarket, we have customers D to J. And by the way, here I'm trying to express the reservation price or the marginal benefit in a descending order to align with the usual downward sloping demand curve. Because we are going to apply the product maximization condition, MR greater than or equals to MC, so this is why we need to calculate the total revenue column first. At the price of 480, then only 1 unit is sold, then we have total revenue 480 times 1. Okay, if the price is at $460, then 460 times 2 as a total revenue, and so on. Okay, so this is how we can calculate column C. And for the marginal revenue column, again, this is a discrete case, then we calculate as follows. Marginal revenue of the nth unit equals to total revenue of n units minus total revenue of n minus 1 units. Then we are able to calculate the marginal revenue column. And finally, marginal cost, it will be constant at $440 as mentioned in the question here. And now we are ready to apply the product maximization condition, which is the park should expand production as far as the marginal revenue is greater than or equals to the marginal cost. And as you can see, up to customer E, the marginal revenue is still greater than the marginal cost, but not for customer D. So this is why it is profit maximizing to serve customers E to J in the list price submarket, okay, 6 customers in total. All right, and the corresponding list price would be here, $370. How about the discount price of market? Basically, the same steps. Okay, to calculate the total revenue column first, and then calculate marginal revenue using this discrete definition of marginal revenue. And as you can see, it is profit maximizing to serve two customers in the discount price submarket, since the marginal revenue, 250, is still greater than the marginal cost, but not for customer A. Okay, so two customers is served, and the corresponding discount price is 280. All right, so this for question 64. And for question 65, we are going to find the consumer surplus, producer surplus, and the deadweight loss under this case. So consumer surplus first. It is total benefit minus total expenditure. Okay, so to calculate the total benefit of the traded units, it is simply to add up all the reservation price or all the willingness to pay of the traded units, okay, which are all these orange highlighted cells. Okay, we add up all these orange highlighted cells, it would be the total benefit under this hurdle market. All right, how about the total expenditure on a good? In the list price of market, the price is $370 and serving 6 customers, whereas in the discount price of market, the discount price is 280 and then serving 2 customers. So the two things here will actually be the total expenditure of the consumers. So after calculation, you should be able to find the consumer surplus, 375. If you find it's too complicated to do the arithmetics here, you can actually calculate everything in Excel. Okay, so if you are trying to type the formula, then start with equal S to M, okay, as I've introduced in the previous tutorial. And then in the bracket of the sum function, then we just add up all these orange numbers. Okay, B3 to B8 would be the orange number in the list price of market, and B14 to B15 is simply the orange numbers in the discount price of market. Okay, and then minus the total expenditure on the good, and it will be giving the consumer surplus, 375. Next, about the producer surplus, which is total revenue minus total variable cost. So for total revenue of the traded units, the same as total expenditure. Okay, and for total variable cost, it is simply marginal cost of $240 multiplied by quantity, serving 8 visitors in total. So we are able to calculate the producer surplus, $860. And finally, for the deadweight loss, it is simply the unattained total economic surplus compared to the efficient outcome. So under the efficient outcome, all visitors A to J should be served because their reservation price or the marginal benefit is actually greater than the marginal cost 240. However, under the hurdle market, visitor A and visitor D are not served. So this is why we would like to add up the unattained total economic surplus for visitor A and visitor D to calculate deadweight loss. So how can you do that? So for visitor D, the unattained economic surplus will be the marginal benefit 340 minus the marginal cost of production 240. Okay, 340 will be the reservation price for visitor D. How about for visitor A? It will be its reservation price 250 minus the marginal cost of 240, and we are able to calculate the deadweight loss, 110. All right, so this is the original version of the question, and I have an additional part here. Suppose the part is very experienced in the business and knows the reservation price of each customer. If it is allowed to charge any price, then how many visitors will it serve and the corresponding economic profit. From the description here, it is about perfect price discrimination because the part is allowed to charge any price to any customers. Okay, so we'll be finding the efficient outcome, which is to serve all 10 visitors, since all their reservation price is greater than the marginal cost, 240. Okay, so this is the first part. How about the economic profit in this perfect price determination case? So again, total profit is total revenue minus total cost. So for the total revenue, it is simply to add up all the willingness to pay of the 10 buyers, okay, which is to add up all these 10 numbers, and it will be the total revenue of the good, simply because each buyer is charged according to their willingness to pay. How about for the total cost? Decomposed into two parts again. So fixed cost, it will be 20, directly given the question here. And for total variable cost, it will be marginal cost of 240 multiplied by the quantity of visitors served, 10 units. So we have the total variable cost here. And after a simple calculation, you should be able to calculate the park's economic profit, which is 1,325. Okay, so this is how we can understand the market under perfect price determination as well as hurdles. Right, we'll move on to the next problem. Please take a look first. All right. So question 64, if the firm decides to set a single price for both groups, and what will be the quantity traded? So here, let me also take the chance to review the 4 universal steps of simple monopoly pricing with you, okay, so that you can better understand and to serve as a guide for this kind of problem. Okay, step 1 is to derive the combined demand curve in this question. All right, so we have the retail traders and the institutional traders. So we just add up their individual demand and we'll have the combined demand expression here. All right, then step 2, to find the marginal revenue curve by multiplying coefficient in front of Q by 2. Okay, so actually, we do not need to do the change of subject for the combined demand curve. In GeoGebra, we can directly type this expression, multiply the coefficient in front of Q by 2. Okay, you see, I just multiplied 2 in front of X. I did not do any change of subject. So this would save you some time in your calculations. We have the marginal revenue curve now, and we move on to step 3 to apply the profit maximization condition MR equals to MC to find the profit maximizing output. Okay, so if we plot everything in GeoGebra, then we are able to find that MR and MC intersect each other at this level. The corresponding quantity will be the profit maximizing output 462. And finally, step 4, to charge a monopoly price according to the demand curve at this quantity of 462. So it would be like this. Okay, the corresponding price according to the demand curve at this output would be 7.25 as suggested by point B. Okay, so remember these 4 universal steps, and it will be quite useful for the following demonstration and to solve questions in single monopoly pricing. Let me go back to the slide, and we have completed question 64 and 65 to find the profit maximizing quantity and price. And we move on to 66 and 67. If the firm set one price for each group of consumers, what would be the corresponding price and quantity for each group of traders? Okay, actually, I'm not going to too much of details because we just need to implement the 4 universal steps for each group of trader. Okay, so I will just take the results as given. Okay, and finally, what is more intriguing is question 68 to compare the consumer surplus under the single price scheme and the dual price scheme. Okay, so let's see. Under the single price scheme, the market quantity is 462, right? And under the dual price scheme, the quantity for the retail traders will be 420, whereas the quantity for the institutional trader is 42. So in total, it is 420 plus 42, which is also 462. Okay, we have the same quantity across single price and dual price scheme. And for the price side, stay the same price, 7.25, under single price or the dual price scheme. With same price and same quantity under market segmentation and simple monopoly pricing, then we will have the same consumer surplus across these two cases. So difference in consumer surplus will be 0. Or if you're not convinced by what I've just explained, you can manually find out the area of consumer surplus in these cases. So under simple monopoly pricing, we use the combined demand curve, right? And we can find out the consumer surplus is this blue triangle. Okay, the corresponding consumer surplus 1,212.75. How about under market segmentation? Then we just need to find out the consumers for the retail traders and the consumer surplus for the institutional traders respectively. Okay, using the retail demand curve, then we have the consumer surplus 1,102.5, the green triangle here. And using the institutional demand, we have the orange triangle, consumer surplus 110.25. If you sum the area of the green triangle and the orange triangle, we have the total consumer surplus is 1,212.75. The same result as in simple monopoly pricing. Right, so as far as the market price and the market quantity across these two cases are the same, then they will have the same consumer surplus or even the profit of the firm. Right, so for this original version of the exam question, we have the same y-intercept of their individual demand curves. However, what happens if the retail demand and institutional demand have different y-intercepts or different price intercepts for the individual demand curve? How can we solve the problem in this scenario? Okay, so I'll give you a little bit more time to think about this problem under different price intercepts of the individual demand curves. Okay, so let me start with the explanation and hope you have some initial ideas. So for question 64 and 65, if the firm is setting a single price, then what would be the profit maximizing quantity and price in this case? So don't panic, just follow the 4 universal steps. Step 1 is to derive the demand curve. Here, because we have different y-intercepts for the individual demand curve, so the combined demand curve is kink actually, so be aware of that. And specifically, the combined demand curve would kink at the price of 80 divided by 8, okay, the y-intercept for institutional traders. Okay, why? Because when the price is higher than 80 divided by 8, which is 10, then institutional traders are not buying positive units and only retail trader does. So this is why when the price is higher than 10, then we only need to put the demand expression for the retail traders. However, when the price is lower than 10, then both retail and institutional traders are buying positive units. So we need to put the individual demand expression for the retail traders and the institutional traders here for the market demand curve. Okay, so we have the combined demand curve right here. And the second step is just to rearrange using P as a subject. You actually do not need to do so because I've explained to you in the next step to derive the MR curve, then we just multiply the coefficient in front of Q by 2. But here I just do the change of subject for better presentation. Okay, the second change in the second step is that I change the price range into the quantity range here. Right, so that's all for step 1. Step 2 is to derive the combined MR curve by multiplying a coefficient in front of Q by 2. Okay, so for the first expression, we have 0.0125, then we have 0.025. And for the second expression here, 0.011, then we have 0.022 in the MR curve. And for the quantity range, I just put it right here, okay, the same quantity range as above. So this is step 2 to derive the combined MR curve. And in fact, the MR curve is kink or even discontinuous at the quantity of 200. If you're trying to understand the shape of the combined MR, it will be like this. Is discontinuous at the quantity of 200, right? It's broken at this level. Now we can move on to step 3 to apply the profit maximization condition MR equals to MC to find the profit maximizing output. Okay, likely you may ask, so we put the marginal cost of $2 back into the first expression of marginal revenue or the second expression of marginal revenue. If you happen to put the marginal cost of $2 back into the first expression of MR, you should be able to find out the corresponding quantity is greater than 200, which is inconsistent with the quantity range here. It's more than 200. And this is why we should put the marginal cost of $2 back into the second expression of MR to align with the quantity range greater than 200. And doing so, we should be able to find out the profit maximizing quantity, 452. Okay, in terms of the graph here, the marginal cost intersects the discontinuous MR at its lower portion, okay, the lower portion of the combined MR curve. And finally, step 4, to charge a monopoly price according to the demand curve at this output 452. Since MC intersects MR at the lower portion of MR, then we should use the lower portion of the demand curve to find the profit maximizing price. So just plug in the quantity 452 back into the second expression of MR. Then we are able to find out the corresponding price, which is 7.14. If you're trying to understand the graph, then you can refer to the diagram on top here for better visualization. Whereas if you're trying to look for the numbers, you can refer to the GeoGebra screenshot below. It's hard to understand the shape or the demand MR curve in the GeoGebra screenshot because it's a little bit messy under this case. That's about the technique of solving question 64 and 65. How about 66 and 67? About the profit maximizing quantity and price when the firm set different prices across different groups of traders. So again, I'm not going into the details because it will go back to the usual linear demand curve, and we just implement the 4 universal steps. Okay, the results just put down here, and we will continue our analysis. All right, so question 68, to find the difference in consumer surplus comparing with the single price scheme and the dual price scheme. So under the single price scheme, the simple monopoly pricing, what would be the consumer surplus? So we just need to refer to the diagrams here first, okay, for better understanding. We use the combined demand curve to find a consumer surplus under simple monopoly pricing. Okay, at the price of 7.14, the corresponding consumer surplus will be this So remember, it is actually a quadrilateral instead of a triangle because the combined demand curve is king. And you can also calculate the consumer surplus under the single price scheme using the individual demand curve. Okay, so you can just plug in the price of 7.14 to find out the consumer surplus for the retail traders, and also the price of 714 back into the institutional traders demand, and we can find out the consumer surplus in this case. So if we add up the two blue triangles, here it is equivalent as the quadrilateral. Okay, so they are consistent. Let me go back here. So point H is actually the king point in the combined demand curve. Okay, so using a Polygon function, you can find out the area of this quadrilateral, 1,183.55 as the consumer surplus under single price scheme. Okay, how about the consumer surplus under the dual price scheme? We just use the retail traders and the corresponding price in this market, 7.25. Then we have the green triangle. And for the institutional traders, use the institutional demand and the corresponding price of $6. Then we have the consumer surplus. The sum of the green triangle and the orange triangle would give the total consumer surplus under the dual price scheme. So referring to the GeoGebra screenshot here, we can find out the area of the consumer surplus. Okay, for the retail traders, 1,102.5. And for the institutional traders, the consumer surplus is 64. Okay, adding them up, we have the total consumer surplus 1,166.5. So the difference in consumer surplus under these two cases, simple multipricing and market segmentation, would be as follows: 17.05. So that's all for the discussion of the tutorial content today, and also everything about the whole course. So a little bit of reminder about the final exam. So it will be held next Friday at 2:30 on the 9th of August. It will be held in the HKU campus at KK102. Okay, the venue is already confirmed. So here I have a tip for your revision of the final exam. So of course, it's a good practice for you to complete the past exam problems, right, to better familiarize yourself with the question settings and the exam mode. And another good source of practice would be to complete the question bank, especially the last few problems of each question bank. And it will be the more challenging problems and also the questions that have not yet been appeared in the previous exam yet. So the more unfamiliar ones. In addition to the practice of the past exam problems, spend some time to complete the last few questions in each question bank so that you can solve those challenging problems as well. Okay, so there's some tips. And also during the remaining week before the final exam, if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the Moodle discussion forum, email me, or also to set up a consultation session to ask them. All right, that's all about the reminder about the final exam. And it will be the time for the attendance exercise. So I'll open the quiz now, and 5 minutes for you, and close the quiz at 9:30. Sets A and D for your completion. 1.5 minutes left for the attendance exercise. Okay, time is up, and this is the end of the tutorial today and also for the whole course. Thank you for your participation and being here with me for the semester. And this is actually the last semester that I'm teaching here in HKU, so I will not be in this course in the next semester. So I hope all of you will not be in this course in the future semester as well. So please get a pass or even a decent grade for Econ1210. Anyways, thanks again for joining the tutorial as always. That's it. Good night and goodbye.